Prosecutors accused Bonner-Bey of leaving the state 3 times without the court's permission. Meanwhile, funeral board records we requested under the Alabama Open Records Law show a trail of violations. The criminal charges stem from Bonner-Bey's alleged mistreatment of bodies buried at a Prichard cemetery owned by a church that owns Heritage Memorial Gardens Funeral Home, where he was a director. But it was not the first time he or the funeral home have come under scrutiny. The State Board of Funeral Service last year negotiated a settlement agreement with 3 people and Heritage in order to resolve allegations of operating without a license. 2 women working as apprentice funeral directors at Heritage admitted to performing the duties of a funeral director without being licensed by the board. Each agreed to pay a $500 fine. Director Jimmy A. Sanders and the funeral home admitted to aiding and abetting the apprentices in performing these activities and of failing to supervise them. Sanders did not return phone messages left at Heritage over the past 2 days. Funeral Board Executive Secretary Charles Prichard tells me he personally discovered those violations, but not as part of an inspection.
On this particular case, I was attending a funeral service and witnessed these violations.
But I mean, you were there just as attending service of a loved one?
Of a family friend.
Sanders and the funeral home agreed to pay fines in the amount of $3,000 to settle the case. Heritage Funeral Home also went on probation for 6 months. That period ended on February 1st of this year, just 3.5 months before Mobile County Sheriff's deputies raided the facility as part of its criminal probe. Funeral Board records also show that the agency has disciplined Bonner-Bey in the past when he was managing funeral director of the now-defunct Tri-State Mortuary on Broad Street in Mobile. Those documents indicated that Tri-State Mortuary failed a routine inspection in 2013. The report indicated that the funeral home had no caskets or centralized embalming. It also had inadequate plumbing and lighting fixtures, overgrown grass, and broken windows in the office, according to the inspection.
And he chose to close the establishment until he can bring the establishment up to the standards of the law.
Okay.
And while it was closed, he accepted remains and continued to practice.
Bonner-Bey in January 2014 settled administrative charges over his continued operation, but after he failed to pay a $15,000 fine and a $150 inspection fee required by the agreement, the funeral board brought new charges. This time Bonner-Bey fought the allegations, but an administrative law judge ruled against him, and the board adopted the judge's recommendation that Bonner-Bey serve 2 years on probation and lose his funeral director license if he did not pay the full amount by July 5, 2014. Bonner-Bey paid the fine and served his probationary period. Records show he currently holds a funeral director license and also obtained an embalmer license in March of this year. Bonner-Bey's attorney, Jerome Carter, did not immediately return a call seeking comment, but in a written objection to the prosecution's request to revoke probation, he maintains that his client was in Biloxi to perform burial services as part of his job and that prosecutors are aware of the nature of his business. Brendan Kirby, Fox 10 News.